to What Are Those, the show that explores the art of sneaker culture. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. All right, guys, we have made it. We have reached the end of 2022, and what an amazing year it's been. By the way, it's my first year on Fox, on the iHeart platform, on the Upper Game platform, so shout outs to them. Man, it's just been so much going on. So today, I'm going to recap it, and then I'm also going to share one of my favorite interviews of the year. I cannot wait, man. But before that, you know what to do. You need to go ahead and subscribe to the Up On Game Network. It's been a year. We've been rocking. And 2023 is going to be incredible, man. Incredible. Trust me. You don't want to miss what's going on in 2023 with all of the programming on Upper Game Network. So go ahead and subscribe on all podcasting platforms, but especially the iHeartRadio app. And of course, go to our YouTube Up On Game Network to stay on top of what's going on. Okay, so we're going to get into my two biggest stories of 2022, and then I'm going to share my favorite interview of the year with you guys in a moment. But before that, I got a quick announcement about this show. After this week, we're going on a 2-week break. Okay, there's going to be a 2-week break. Also, I want to let you guys know that in February, I will be going on a small, probably week or two break because there's, as you know, your boy is expecting a little one. I got a little princess that's going to be coming into the world around that time, so I'm going to have to devote my time to my family and make sure that my baby girl is okay. But I'm not going to leave you guys hanging too long. But I am going to be doing something really cool in 2023. We're going to be taking this show on the road. That's right. Now, listen, my beautiful home studio. I love my home studio. I'm blessed to be able to have one. But we're going to be getting out, and we're going to be going to the people, man. We're going to hit the streets. We're going to get to some of these sneaker shops. We're going to talk to some of the people around this area and outside of the area that I admire. I can't wait. It's going to be really cool and a really fresh season 3 of What Are Those. 2023 is going to be awesome, man. I'm super excited. Seriously, y'all. I can't wait to get going with 2023. I just feel good vibes for it. I think dope things are going to happen for everybody, man. It's a year and there's always going to be ups and downs, but I think we're going to have a positive year. I'm putting it in the air, man. Okay? But 2022 was cool too, especially in the world of sneakers. We had some of the biggest stories in the world of sneakers that we've had in years. Sneakers and sneaker culture really made like a transition into true pop culture. Now, for me, it's always been a part of pop culture, but it really made that transition this year and what I mean by that is that some of the stories were bigger than sneakers. It touched politics. It touched religion. It touched social issues. It touched finances. Sneakers were huge this year. And I'm not saying these are all positive things, but it just shows you how big, pop culture and hip hop culture is, So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about my two biggest stories of the year in the world of sneakers. Okay, coming in at number 2, and I have a feeling you guys know what these stories are. I covered these two stories a lot on this show. A lot of cool guests to break down some of the stuff. Thank you to everybody that joined the show. Paul Spann, Mike Sykes, a lot of people that came on and really helped me talk about what's going on with these two particular stories. The first story I want to get to is the Kyrie Irving Nike situation. Now, to recap, Kyrie Irving was watching a film or was promoting a film called From Negroes to Hebrews, I think, something like that. Either way, the film was controversial. It offended the Jewish community. I talked about it on this show. And Kyrie Irving was ultimately released from his Nike contract. Now, both of these stories, I should note, are stories that are going to leak into 2023. And that's why I think these are the two biggest stories of the year. Not just because, obviously, the person involved in this particular story is a superstar NBA athlete, Kyrie Irving, who is an entrepreneur, who is a philanthropist, who is, I think, a good guy, but sometimes can just be a little misguided in what he says and how he responds to people. So Nike dropped him. Nike dropped him from the contract, and it became a really big issue because Nike basketball And by Nike basketball, I mean Nike basketball sneakers. You have lifestyle sneakers like your Jordans and things like that, and the collabs. But Nike basketball is like sneakers that are made for dudes on the court, right, or women on the court as well. And it hasn't been as popular as it used to be. The LeBron model still does fairly well. You know, it's a John Morant model coming out. A lot of people are excited about the John Morant model. In fact, I think the John Morant may be the follow up to the Kyrie. It may be the replacement for the Kyrie. But the Kyrie Irving was probably that sneaker that I know my son owns quite a few Kyries. You know, it's kind of go-to when you want to just buy like the Nike basketball sneaker. Kyrie probably had the most popular line on Nike when it comes to Nike basketball. So this isn't a small thing for Nike to say, you know what, Kyrie, we're going to cut ties with you. This isn't just a whatever. We'll just move on. We've got Jordan. We've got all the collabs. No, this is a big deal for their basketball brand. So the question becomes, what happens with Kyrie Irving? Where will Kyrie Irving sign next? Now, there's a couple of things on the line, but I'm interested, and we'll talk about the next story and the next person. I know who I'm going to talk about next, but I'm interested because Kyrie comes off to me as a person who will definitely push the envelope. Now, again, what Kyrie said, and what certain parts of that film represent, I don't represent, and you know, I definitely understand the Jewish community being upset with Kyrie Irving. I get that. So all of that to the side. If you just talk about Kyrie the person, I'm really curious, and I've been talking about this a lot on this show, getting to know and getting and interviewing people that have independent sneaker brands, in specific African-American sneaker brands. That's important to me because sneaker culture comes from African-American culture, right? There's no debating that. So for me, I'm wondering if Kyrie Irving is going to seek out an independent brand and try to elevate it. I'm not sure, okay? I'm not sure, but I'm curious about that. And that's why I think that the Kyrie Irving story is one of the biggest stories of the year when it comes to sneaker culture, because it's going to bleed into 2023. There's going to be a bidding war. It's already kind of started already. There's a few brands. Adidas was in there. You know what I mean? Adidas definitely threw their hat in the ring. You know, I think there's a Japanese brand or a Chinese brand, excuse me, that wanted to sign him as well. They, you know, a lot of athletes often go that route because they pay big money. But I'm wondering if Kyrie Irving is going to be the type of person that's going to say, you know what? I'm going to go with a black brand, right? I'm going to go with a smaller black brand and try to elevate them. I'm really, really curious to see if that happens in 2023. Either way, you do what you got to do, Kyrie, to make your money. Again, I feel like, you know, I understand the punishment. I get it. We got to watch what we say about people. You know, we have to always consider what's going on in other people's communities. And, you know, you can't really tell people how to react to certain things. But when it comes to these sneakers, I'm real interested to see what you're going to do, Kyrie Irving. And I'm looking forward to 2023 to see what the next move is. So let's get to our number one story, hands down, without a doubt, number one story of 2022. So I don't think I'm breaking news when I tell you that the number one story in sneakers of 2022 was Kanye West. Kanye West was controversial and polarizing in every aspect of pop culture and social culture, if that's even a term, all year. Kanye West was one of the most controversial figures of the year. And when it came to fashion with the Gap, when it came to Adidas, yeah, he shook up the room quite literally. Kanye West lost his Adidas deal, lost his Gap deal. Now, the Gap deal, I won't, whatever on that. But the Adidas deal is a big thing. And I talked about it a lot on this show. I think even to a point where, you know, I'm not gonna lie, you know, I think some of the audience was even like, okay, with the Kanye thing. And I understood that because he's the type of person that forces you to talk about him all of the time. And when you talk about his sneaker, it's hard to separate him from the sneaker. It becomes about his personal fight and not about the brand, which is what we talk about on this show. But the brand does matter. And here's why it matters. Because in 2023, Adidas has announced and already shown a Yeezy sneaker that they're going to be selling without Yeezy branding on it. I don't know how that's going to work, y'all. I'm not sure. I'm really curious to see what you all think. I'm not sure. And I've said this before. I said this before Kanye. Kanye's been controversial for years. But before the avalanche really just, the snowball just rolled all the way down the hill, right? That Kanye and the Yeezy, I was kind of over the 350 for sure. Like the 350 is just not in my personal style book, right? It's not something that I want to wear. It doesn't fit me anymore. And this is a 350 that they're talking about releasing in 2023. I don't like it. I'm not in love with it. That's not something I want to wear. You do you. But I'm just wondering for the people that were really into 350s, really into Yeezy, are you going to buy this sneaker? Or a question I posed in the show a while back, are you loyal to Kanye? And even if you're not loyal to Kanye, maybe you feel like they shouldn't be releasing the sneaker without the branding. Now, I will say this. I said it on the show, and I'll say it again. Adidas owns that branding. Adidas owns that sneaker. They're showing you in every single way that they do, okay? You cannot forget that, all right? Also, Nike has done this before. Adidas has done this before. Adidas has released a Kobe, and Kobe hasn't been part of Adidas in decades, okay? Nike releases Diamond Turfs, and Deion Sanders wants nothing to do with Nike, okay? So this is not an abnormal thing. It's not. It's part of business. And just because it's happening to Kanye doesn't mean it's some like a shockingly unfair thing. That sneaker's going to come out, but the question is, are you going to buy it? Are you still into it? What are the newer designs going to look like? Is it just going to be called 350 Supply, or is it going to be called Adidas Supply? What is this going to look like? No matter what, this is an intriguing story, and it's nowhere near ending, because Kanye going to say something the moment that sneaker comes out. It's going to be really, really, really interesting. I will be covering it on this show in some capacity because we can't escape it. But that's my number one story of 2022. And it's definitely going to be leaking into 2023. So let me know what you guys think. What other stories did we miss? Obviously, we only did 2, so there's so many. But what story stood out to you in 2022 when it comes to sneaker and street fashion, street culture? Talk to me. Hit me up. Let's get into it. Okay, so, guys, let's get into one of my favorite interviews of the year. And speaking of Adidas, I talked to the king of Adidas, okay, early in the year. Honestly, I talked to a lot of people this year, and there was a lot of great and cool interviews, man. But when I spoke to my man, Shake, I felt like that was, when it comes to sneakers, man, I felt like I was talking to a guy that really understood what this show is about, really embodies the reason why I created this show, why I did the movie. You know what I mean? Like, Shake is a guy that is... he's just living history when it comes to, especially Adidas, when it comes to sneakers. I mean, this man was rolling with Jam Master Jay. This dude was touring with Run DMC, man. He's seen things that some of us couldn't even imagine. And me and him only cracked the surface, for real. This is one of those moments I wish I had a 3-hour show, man, for real. I almost went there with this one. Sorry, LeVar crew, man. I almost went there with this one. I was about to do a 3-hour show, but I couldn't talk to Shake that long, man. But Shake is one of the better dudes I've gotten the pleasure to know in this business. He's a wealth of knowledge. We actually talked about Kanye in the interview. This is before this stuff, and I told the truth about Kanye, man. When it came to the sneakers and all that, he is a genius. It was like genius promoting and genius design, so we talked about Kanye, but just know that portion of the interview obviously is older. This is an interview from early in the year, but I wanted to end this year by sharing one of my favorite interviews, and that's with my man Shake. Let me stop running my mouth and let's get to it. Shake, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I am doing great, man. I'm happy to have you on. Happy to talk to you. brother, I don't usually like to start with broad questions, right? But I want to start with a broad question for you because I was saying off mic, your story is so incredible, and it to me epitomizes like sneakerhead and sneaker culture. You really go back almost to the beginning, you know what I mean? So I want to ask you, brother, where did your love for sneakers start?
Like when I grew up, man, I guess like the neighborhoods that I grew up in, it was like heavy gang infestation, you know what I'm saying? A lot of poverty. But most of the people that was in the neighborhood always wore like Nikes, you know what I'm saying? Like the older models and things like that. And so, I was poor. So my mother was working and working and working, trying to, make it right for me. So she ended up saving up some money and was like, yo, I'm gonna take you to the store. You can buy, any shoe you want. I'm like, all right. So we went to the store, and when we got in the store, I'm looking around. And so she's seeing she's seeing the Nikes just popping. So she like looking like, I know you want these. Then I was like, nah. Then I just kept looking around, and then I saw a pair of Adidas, and I was just like, I want those. And she was like, what? And I was like, nah, I want those. And it just fit me. It just spoke to me, right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm always that guy that when everybody else go right, I go left anyway. So I was like, yo, I said, I want those boys. And so as I started, not even, I don't, you know what, man? It was like back then, it was more so the love. It wasn't even really like you was collecting to say, oh, I'm a collector. I was just buying the shit I like, you know what I'm saying? And then when I met, Running D and J and them, then it just went to a whole nother level. But before that, I was just copping the ones I like.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about your how you met Jay, how your friendship, how you guys bonded a friendship, and just talk to me about some of them adventures, man. Again, those stories are I watched that interview, and your stories are just bonkers, bro. Talk to me about Jay, man.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if we had to do a longer episode for me to tell you the full thing, but I just speed it up a little bit for you. So I was, like I said, I was young in the hood rapping, you know what I'm saying? And so they, had came to Milwaukee one time. So I was a little dude back then, so I fought through the crowd, got up to the front, passed this guy that was in the Hollis crew named Runny Ray. He passed away, God bless Ray. And so I passed my tape to him, and I'm like, yo, call me, you know what I'm saying? So I was waiting. I go home, and I'm waiting, and I'm checking the phone, and I'm like telling people, call my house right now, you know what I'm saying, to make sure the phone working, because I thought that's how it worked.
Yeah.
But it didn't. And so I'm waiting and checking the phone and checking, never got the call. They ended up coming back, you know what I'm saying? Another kid that I know knew somebody that was involved in the promotion. So he's like, yo, they want to play basketball. So we went and played basketball. And then that was when I got my introduction into New York. You know what I'm saying? What New York basketball was really about.
They don't play.
Yeah, no blood, no foul. So, so I'm driving to the bucket, and then Jay just like clips me out the air, and I just like helicopter spins around. I hit the ground, and I'm like it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, shit, foul. You know what I'm saying? But they was already breaking, going the other way. And I'm like, what? Jay like, ain't no foul. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? So, and then after we got done balling, he was like, he saw my car. I was young, you know what I'm saying? But I had a car. So he was like, yo, who car is this? I'm like, it's my car. He's like, what you doing out here, shorty? I said, I'm living. So he's like, I'm riding with you. So he came, got in the car with me. We let the top down. I was like, wait, can you drive a stick? He looked at me like that was the dumbest shit you could ask a grown man. So we got in the car, you know what I'm saying? He's like, put some music on. So, I threw in Run DMC. I'm fanned out at that time. So I threw in some Run DMC. And I'm looking at him, it's like that. He looking at me like turn that shit off. He said, how you take this off? And I said, right there. So he ejected my tape, just threw it up in the air, blows off on the highway. And I'm like, yo, you threw my tape out. And he was like, man, I hear that shit every night. I want to hear some other shit, some play something that's hot. So I think I put in like some MC Breed or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And he like, get the bob in his head. And he's like, who is that? I'm like, MC Breed, whatever. He's like, oh shit, he dope. Where you from? And like everybody got this false perception of rappers. Like we think Jay-Z living around the corner from Puff Daddy, who lived down the street from 50 Cent, and they all know each other and hang out. And it's definitely not like that. You know what I'm saying? And so we went to the show. Jay gave me his number, man, and I ended up calling him and shit. We became best friends.
Yo, that's beautiful, man. And when you think about sneakerheads and sneaker culture, it always goes back to Run DMC, right? We always go
Yeah.
back to Run DMC, and I can imagine what the and how that got you introduced into the world of Adidas and all that. We're gonna get into that, but when you all were doing your thing back then, and you rolling with them, you hanging out on tour with them, and Jay and you guys' friendship, did you all realize like the impact you all were having like on fashion at that time and in
No,
sneakers specifically?
no. And that's funny you say that because this other kid, it's funny the way the universe works. But so I was like around Nipsey Hussle in the beginning, right? You know what I'm saying? And so he was like a really good, friend of mine, good dude.
Yeah.
And I met this kid that ended up giving me this painting that's behind me. So that's why it's so crazy the way the universe works. And so this painting came from one of Nip's shows, and Nip signed it, like the marathon continues and shit like that. And so the kid who took the photo just messaged me today, and he was like, "This shit got to be surreal, bro. Like, just to look back and to know that you was a part of the beginning of the shit." And I was like, "Bro, it's crazy." And you're right, you know what I'm saying? And no, we didn't know. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like we was just living, man. We were just taking it one day at a time, and then it's like now you sit back and you see the impact, and you just like, damn, you know?
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Why do you think sneakers and hip hop are so synonymous? What was it about the hip hoppers, especially you guys, that really just was attracted to the sneaker and the Adidas sneaker in particular?
Well, like Adidas was the up and coming sneaker at that time in New York, and like it was a heavily populated sneaker inside the prisons, right? And so that's where the no strings came from, because you couldn't wear the strings in jail. So when coming home back to Queens, they was having the sneakers on with no shoestrings in them. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when the time, when Run DMC was morphing. Like, that name sound cool now, right? When you say Run DMC, but just imagine Russell Simmons saying, "Y'all gonna be a group, and I'm gonna call y'all Run DMC," and then they was like, "What?" Like, they thought it was the worst thing ever. You know what I'm saying? The worst name ever, I should say. And then they was trying to figure out the style or whatever. So it was kind of like, Flash, and it was wearing the tight leathers and the furry jackets. So they didn't do that. So then they just, Jay was like the street of the group, and like the fashion, the guy of the group. So then Jay was like, "Nah, we gonna dress like how we normally dress, right?" So that's where it all came from. So they started wearing Adidas, and then Mitch Mackin, like, you wear the blue pants, I'm gonna wear the gray top. You know what I'm saying? And doing it like that. But Jay the one that put all that together.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And a lot of times when we think about like just we think about the 80s and we think about Run DMC, but Adidas in particular had a hell of a run in the 90s. A lot of big things happened in the 90s. And I know that you were surrounded by other people. You just mentioned, like Nipsey. I mean, I know you had a relationship with Tupac and others. I don't like the term influencer. I think sometimes a lot of people kind of throw that one around, but I do think that tastemaker may apply to you, brother. Like, do you feel like, and especially around that time, that you moving around, seeing people like Pac, seeing other people and being like, "This is what I got on," and they looking at you and saying, "Yo, how can I get my hands on that?" Was that your experience with those folks?
Yeah, because like a lot of times, like when I would get, back then, like Adidas was pretty much superstars, white with green stripes, white with red stripes, white with blue stripes. So then they finally started coming up with some different, I'm gonna say different models, but still that same pattern of stripes on the side. And so the Superstar was cool, don't get me wrong, but I liked the other models that they had, you know what I'm saying? So I would always wear Adidas, but I was wearing the other shit. I only wore Superstars shit twice in my life, you know what I'm saying? Keeping it real, twice in my life. And as matter of fact, I take that back, once in my life. But anyway, so and so when Jay would see me with the, with the freshness on, he'd be like, "Yo, what's them?" Yeah. And I tell him, and he'd be like, "Yo, I want them." Like, and so then he starts saying, "Yo, whenever you order that, make sure you get that 10.5 for me." And I'm like, "All right, bet." So I started getting, so every time. So I mean, you could kind of see it, like, if you was like I know, because I was like there, but when you start seeing Run DMC photos, like you see the older ones and you will see them all in Superstars. But then when you start seeing like that, when I, like that 88, 85 era, when shit started to shift, when Jay started listening to me, you would see Jay wearing different shit than G. And that's where it came.
Yeah, I think about just MCs back then and athletes back then, and this may sound like an old head comment to make, right? But the creativity is like hip hop had an abundance of creativity, maybe because it was so new, you know what I mean? It was just starting to become mainstream. Again, you think about Pac and some of these people, but was it more fun to to be able to say to someone, like, did you have more creative license? Do you think people were more open to wearing more stuff back then, wearing a different pair of Adidas, because they weren't all caught up on, oh, this is this person's, behind this sneaker, or
Yeah,
that person's behind that
yeah,
sneaker. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think like that's crazy. We having this conversation because I was just talking to somebody about this, but back then, man, the reason why the music was so good and because it was so diverse, but it was like you had Run DMC, you had Public Enemy, you had Queen Latifah, you had X-Clan, you had all these different guys, all was doing well, but they all existed at the same time. And the reason that they existed at the same time was because they was all different. You know what I'm saying? They was all different. Like they wasn't all trying to be like somebody else, you know what I'm saying? So they was all different. I think like the music now is like cookie cutter. You know what I'm saying? It's not for me, you know what I'm saying? Definitely. I listen to like Drake and shit like that,
Mhm.
but the new super what is it? What they call it? Mumble rap shit. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I rock with it. I think that music somewhere transition from back then them niggas love music. Like we
Mhm.
would go to the like how how you like, yo, let's go to the club. Niggas be like, yo, let's go to the studio.
Mhm.
Like because we loved music, right? We like when music came out, like like a label would push one record, but then it would be but you would go to Hot 97 or listen to a different record and they'd play number 13 and you like 13 was hot, but that wasn't
Mhm.
because they were just playing what was really hot instead of
Yeah.
now where they got the program directors and they only play what they paid to play and shit like that. But somewhere along the lines, music went from love to a hustle. And now it's just a hustle now, bro. So now all of these guys,
Mhm.
that's why, you know what I'm saying? Like you got the phones and the TikToks and like, so really you don't really even need the talent like you used to have. You just need a catchy hook, you know what I'm saying? Some money, couple chicks in the back, and you're a rapper.
And again, that sounds like where sneaker culture is, right? Like you mentioned before, it wasn't all about collecting love,
Yeah.
that some sneaks are meant to not even really be worn sometimes. You know what I mean? Some things are just dope, and I love all of that. But like that, and I'm not getting into resellers and all that, but just the idea of hoarding something for reasons other than the pureness of it, like this is a sneaker I want to wear, or I just love it. It kind of sounds like the same with hip hop, where like you got microwavable TikTok rappers, you got microwavable TikTok influencers, you know what I mean? And when it comes to the sneaker game, and I just feel like back then maybe, and even in the early 2000s, it was just a different, purer love for the culture, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like like everything kind of shifts in whatever culture you in when money
Mhm.
get involved,
Mhm.
and that's what kind of like I ain't gonna say destroyed the sneaker culture, but that's kind of what is hurting it right now because there's
Mhm.
so much money involved. Like you got old guys who don't know nothing about sneakers. You know what I'm saying? They collect, trying to buy them to flip them and make a couple bucks, and you know what I'm saying. And then it became a thing because then you started seeing guys actually really making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this, and then you're like, well, it's because it's easy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's so
Yeah.
hard to, you know what I'm saying, have the resources to open up a legitimate sneaker store, right? You can have, it's hard to get you got to have your credit right. You got to have 2 years of tax, you know what I'm saying? And then you got to go in there, present your ideas, sell it to the bank, get them to give you the loan. Now you got the loan, you got the building, but now you got to go pitch yourself to Adidas, Nike, Puma, Rio. You got to talk to
Right.
them and make them understand that why is Shake dope or why, you know what I'm saying, should
Mhm.
Adam be able to put it, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
then you got to do that. So I don't know why, man, but we as black people, man, you know what I'm saying, we always take the quickest route to success. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So instead of us putting in the work to try to get there, it's just easier to just open up a resale shop, and when a resale shop is nothing but reselling. So
Right.
and it's just all just morphed into some whole other shit. So the art of it is like it's only a few people left, man, that really kind of care about the art. Everybody else is just like collectors and people that's trying to just make money, man.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And when I think about your story and your experiences, I think about the communal aspect of it, that sneakers is a community. All these people you met through a love of hip hop through a love of sports and through a love of sneakers, right? You know, some of the biggest names in the world, Jam Master Jay, Tupac, Nipsey Hussle, all of these people, right, that you met, that just speaks to what I love about, and you and I have met through the love of sneakers, right? You know what I mean? TJ, all these other people I've talked to, you know what I mean? So I just think that community aspect is a big part of it. All right, so like I said before, 2023 is here, man, and I love all of you guys. I am so excited about what the new year has. I'm going to see you guys in the third week of January. I'm taking 2 weeks off. So I'm coming back my birthday week, actually. And we're going to get into it, man. We're going to be hitting the road. I'm going to be doing shows in here. I'm going to be talking to big guests. I've already got a couple of people booked that's doing some really dope things. I'm going to be talking to independent sneaker designers and sneaker owners. So if you are someone that fits that profile, hit me up. All right. I want to really change the trajectory of this show and really continue to entertain you guys and provide information, man. So thank you so much for sticking with me in 2022. 2023 is going to be dope. Remember to follow the squad, the Up On Game Network at Up On Game Network. Follow the squad, follow the team at On My Feet Network. Follow me, MSR_Adam. MSR_Adam. I have a link tree to everything, including my TikTok where I post often. Okay. Remember, in the new year, mind your mental health. It is important. Mind your mental health. Mind your physical health. But more importantly, in 2023, please continue and always remember to be great. I'm up out of here. Peace.